Is the president going to clarify what he meant when he accused President Obama and White House officials of doing wiretaps? Is that what he meant, or did he mean that he thinks there were wiretaps that the FBI authorized, and does he want to kind of like amend his previous statement?
I think the statement that we issued yesterday, where President Donald J. Trump is requesting as part of their investigation of Russian activity, the Congressional Intelligence Committees exercise their oversight authority to determine whether executive branch investigative powers were abused in 2016. Neither the White House nor the President will comment further until such oversight is continued. He wants Congress to look into this. I think I've spoken to the President again today. He would ask that they additionally look into this issue of leaks of classified and other information coming from the government. He believes that it undermines our national security and that Congress, the intelligence communities in Congress using their oversight authority, look into these pervasive leaks of national security, of classified information. So he would do that. I would note it's interesting that when you look at what former DNI Clapper said on Meet the Press when he was asked if there was any evidence that the Trump campaign was colluding with the Russian government while the Kremlin was working to influence the election, his quote was, "Not to my knowledge." I think we've continued to see people who have been briefed and are aware of these stories that have existed. Congressman Chairman Nunes of the Intelligence Committee, Tom Cotton of the Senate is on the Senate Intelligence Committee, Richard Burr, Marco Rubio, you name it, on and on and on, have said that the information that they've been provided, and this is, I get it, there's two separate issues here, but I think on the first one, you saw over and over again the continued comments by people who are in the know or have been in the know on that situation saying that there was no knowledge. Conversely, you saw former Attorney General Mukasey come out and talk about that it's pretty clear that there was some sort of surveillance or wiretaps that had to have existed. All that being said, I think that's why the President is asking Congress, the intelligence committees, to use their oversight authority to further understand what's in this. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but I know you have.
Yeah. Just before we move on. Okay, so for now, the President is not amending what he tweeted.
No.
And Jim Comey, in the meantime, I guess wanted justice to knock it down.
Again, I'll be honest with you. I have not seen anything aside from another report based on anonymous sources that actually happened. So aside from anonymous sources saying that a conversation happened, I'm not aware that occurred. I don't know that we're aware that occurred. And I frankly don't see anything on the record that show that actually occurred. So I just to be clear, I think this is one of the problems that I think occurred in the whole first set of stories. People start taking things as fact because a series of off the record and anonymous sources say they do. We have started to become a series of believing all of these stories, and yet, I've addressed this in the past. There's nothing there to substantiate. In fact, all of the people Clapper's comment, quote, "not to my knowledge," end quote. You saw Nunes, Rubio, all these senators and House members that have been briefed by the FBI coming out and saying, we have not seen anything either. At some point, I would ask people to take on-the-record sources and quotes as important as the countless numbers of anonymous off-the-record. Zeke. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, I'll take it.
I'm sorry. I just saw the top of a head. Hallie, I'm going to get to you. Don't worry. I'm sorry. That was my bad.
It's all right. So explain this to me then. You're talking about not using anonymous sources. What is then the sourcing for the President's tweet?
Right.
As
I said, I think, look.
Does he believe it's a FISA warrant? Is it some other?
It could be FISA. It could be surveillance. There's no cameras. We'll slow it down. Look, I think he has made it clear that there's continued reports that have been out there. I'm not going to continue to. I think the President made it clear yesterday that he wants Congress to go in and look at this. I think there is substantial reporting out there from individuals and from sources. Okay, Sarah, you're not on camera. You don't need to jump in. We'll get to your question in turn. Hold on. The answer is that the President has made it clear he wants Congress to look into this. Okay, and we're encouraging the House and Senate Intelligence Committees to use their oversight capabilities and look into this. John Gizzi.
Does he not know what kind of surveillance it was?
Well, I think that there's no question that something happened. The question is it surveillance? Is it a wiretap or whatever? But there's been enough reporting that strongly suggests that something occurred. And I think that that's why what he has said yesterday is that he wants Congress to look into this. And I think that there's enough out there now that makes one wonder how some of this happened without the existence of surveillance.
But when he published his tweet,
Right.
did he know?
All I'm telling, like I said, I'm going to put a pin in this and say the statement yesterday made it very clear that he wants House and Senate Intelligence Committee members to use their oversight authority to look into this situation. John Gizzi.
Thank you, Sean. Has the president ever said there's hypocrisy and a double standard in the reporting of things, for example, about alleged Russian involvement in U.S. elections, and then on the other hand, relatively little attention paid to the leaking of conversations with world leaders that are classified? And does the leaking of his conversations with world leaders bother him and make him want to investigate that as well?
That's why, yeah, I mean, I think he is very concerned about that. There is obviously information that affects national security that has been leaked out that concerns him. I mean, and I think when you've seen some of the leader calls being leaked out that are sort of congratulatory or not necessarily dealing with state secrets or national security, that's one thing to see him out. But it gives you pause and concern to realize that if you're talking about something of national security, of something that affects two of our different economies or countries, that whether it's China or North Korea, whether you're actually talking to them or talking about them with another leader, that there's obviously concern that those calls are getting leaked out. And I think that's why the president is also now asking Congress to additionally use its oversight authorities to also look at those leaks and wonder why that's happening. I think he is concerned. I think we've said it several times before, and it's obviously something that is of major concern. And frankly, when you recognize the potential that could have on the safety of our country, it should give everyone pause. Hallie.
Sean, two topics for you here. I want to clarify some questions being asked by my colleagues. Has the president spoken with the FBI director about the allegations he made Saturday morning, and does he have confidence in his FBI?
To the best of my knowledge, I'm almost 100% certain that he has not, but I've not specifically asked him. I'm not aware that occurred. Obviously, I'd be glad to get back, but I've not known that existed. So I'm giving myself the ability to get back to you on this, but I'm not, and all of you, we're making a list, but I'm not aware that actually happened. So,
And the confidence question, does he have confidence in his director?
there's nothing that I've been told by him that would lead me to believe that anything is different than what it was prior.
And before I get to the second topic, a clarification here. You're talking about the president wanting to go to Congress, specifically on the wiretapping questions, but this is information that is held by the executive branch.
Right.
So why would the president, if it's information
Because I think that
the
there's,
executive branch
like,
has, go to
again, and I'm
Congress?
not going to, I want to stay in my wheelhouse here, but my understanding is that the president directing the Department of Justice to do something with respect to an investigation that may or may not occur with evidence may be seen as trying to interfere. And I think that we're trying to do this in the proper way, and that's...
And his tweets that sort of saying that this information exists.
That doesn't interfere with an investigation. So,
Okay.
Zeke.
The
I'm
second
sorry.
topic was actually on the immigration executive order.
Hey.
The president back in January tweeted about a 1-week delay on the travel ban would have let bad dudes enter the
Right.
country. This particular revised order doesn't go into effect for
Right.
another 10 days.
To the 16th.
So what changed? How does that undercut your argument that the
No.
nation was at risk?
Well, I mean, I would argue that the court kind of undercut our argument by not reading the U.S. Code the way it's intended to. But I think we lost the element of surprise way back when we said we were going to issue a second executive order.
That's what it was about, the element of surprise?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think we said it at the beginning. The whole reason that we did it in the way that we did was because if you started to telegraph it. But I think that when we started talking about a second executive order a couple weeks back, I think that generally took away, whether it was done on Friday or Sunday or Monday, wouldn't have mattered. I mean, people have been able to, we have telegraphed what we're doing for the last couple weeks. We took that away, and the president, as you've seen, has been very methodical about making sure we've talked about this, for the last week, talking about implementing it correctly. And I think Saturday night, if you saw the group of individuals who were down in Florida sitting with them, this is part of that implementation process that we've been talking about, that we were continuing to tweak it, continue to get it ready to speed, overcome a lot of issues and concerns that had to get added in or out. and make sure that the government was properly read it. But make no mistake, we lost the element of surprise back when we said